Okay, so thank you, first of all, to all of you who shared. I have lots of notes that I've taken, all very helpful in the process that we are to embark on the 23rd. Before I start, I'd like to share a quote with you, just to put everything into a perspective here. The quote is by Buckminster Fuller, and it's a quote that really gave me the confidence and courage to embark on this journey. Here it is. You never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. I should have put that on a slide because sometimes it's easy to understand it once you hear it and see it. But in any case, we will use that again. Thank you for showing up and giving your time today. Now, our initiative is called Compassionate York Region, or the focus is for the whole region, not just Richmond Hill, because the group who I'll introduce in a bit all come from different areas. We're from Thornhill, Vaughan, Richmond Hill, predominantly. We're a group of five, sorry. We thought it best to make this a wider initiative, just to get as many people involved and interested as possible. And then after that, we can then create our subgroups under this umbrella. We would like to create an umbrella. Now, the Compassionate Community Initiative is part of the Charter for Compassion. Now, before I go on to share some slides, I'd like to tell you who we are. So myself, Marge, Susan Kagan, and Sherry Bennett, and Anne, I forgot Anne's last name. Is Anne part of the Connecting the Community?
Yeah, Anne Zabelicus. No, I don't think a lot of people know her.
Okay, most of us are from the Connecting the Community. Compassion since 2014, when I became a signatory of it. And since then, I've tried to, plant the seed with Marge and others that I know within our community, just had a desire to bring it to schools, and in my own home. That's where I started. So that goes with a lot of what some of you said, that start at home, to start with oneself. That's how my journey started with it. Now, our group, our initial conversations were, it came out of a desire and a need to say, okay, this is what's happening in our community. We're feeling there's a disconnect. We feel like there's a rising distrust in our communities, and we're seeing it not just locally, but we're seeing it in the world at large, including the hate, rising hate, and fear mongering. So we decided we want to do something about it. Who are we, ladies? We consider ourselves as community weavers. My apologies. We weave connection. We want to weave connection, belonging, and what we call like to embrace is Martin Luther King's beloved community. And we believe we must start at the grassroots level. We absolutely believe that it involves all levels in our society, and the most fundamental thing or aspect about all this is relationships. How are we relating to each other? Is it a healthy way? And it's not just with our in-group. How are we relating with the other? How are we relating with those who are not necessarily like us. We believe we all have a responsibility to shift our mindset, but really to care for all and take the responsibility and be held accountable, the accountability, to nurture healthy relationships. We need to get to know one another. We need to really listen. And a lot of you mentioned the listening aspect as well. We need to listen to what the barriers are for a lot of people, what are the systemic barriers, and we need to have the courage to get uncomfortable, where really uncomfortable, where we may not know the answer. We need to be comfortable with not knowing, but willing to learn. And that's where we're starting this journey. We do not say we're experts or that we have all the answers. What we are saying is we are saying yes to showing up and to creating conversations, holding that space for a community that we all want. And so our invitation is going out to all others in the community. I will introduce, you will get to meet the executive director of the Charter for Compassion, Marilyn Turkivich. We've been in conversation with her, and she's given us some recommendations. I'm just going to give you a very high level, which is on the slide. Her recommendation is always to the communities that want this initiative is to start learning. And so there's a new a program, a new training that is being rolled out in October for the first time for teams, for groups of people. CTC could be one group, and really get to know all about what compassion is at all levels. We talk about 3D compassion, compassion to self, to others, and the planet. And it can all work at the same time once we become aware of what compassion really is. And the first invitation actually that she extends and that we extend is get to know what the charter is about. And I will give you, we will watch a brief video. I'll take you to the website just so you know, because we're all busy and we may not have time. So this is just to spark some interest. All right, the second point that I really want to mention is Marilyn said, you know, the 4 or 5 of us who started exploring this initiative, we may think, okay, we want to invite so, but we may actually not, we may not realize there are some that we are forgetting. She said it's very important for an initiative like this to become sustainable, to include all voices. You start with those this aligns with or who are interested, but you have to do the next step that could be uncomfortable, is invite those in who don't necessarily agree or you know, who are just not willing. You can't force anyone. This is an open invitation. So word of mouth, creating awareness, as many of you said, within our own groups, our own faith communities, our own organizations, businesses, all that, families, that is key. I'm going to stop sharing this one and just get this other one up. Just a second. I'd like to take you to the charter website. So when you go to charterforcompassion.org, you will land on this page. The first thing we invite people to do is join us, right? Learn about what is make a commitment, which this is. What is the charter about? What are the actual words? And then become a signatory. It's a symbolic gesture, but it is really, it does create an awareness inside of you that, oh, I've given my word to something, right? So let's go on. I'd really like to share this video, which is new. It was just launched last month. This Charter for Compassion started in 2008, when Karen Armstrong, she's a theologian, she was granted a wish, a prize by the TED organization. And her wish was to create the Charter for Compassion, a charter that people from around the world, notable leaders, sat and at grassroots level, people put together a document of sorts that they wanted to use as a guiding, as a compass. The Charter for Compassion was launched in 2009, and we're now in our second decade. And with the second decade, this video was released. So I'm hoping this is gonna, can you hear it? Marge, if you can go, yep.
Over the past 10 years, the Charter for Compassion has grown to become the largest network in the global compassionate movement. We have a bold, audacious vision for the next 10 years, where compassion in action is the path to a world that is peaceful, joyful, and works for all life. We invite you to join the movement and co-create this vision with us. Faced with pervasive, serious crises everywhere, people are awakening and seeking a more harmonious and compassionate world. But without a structure to connect to others, grow strong, and take charge of transforming our planet, many are unsure how to proceed. That's where the Charter excels. The Charter for Compassion offers a global structure so that people, organizations, and cities can become visible to each other and make critical connections. These connections happen at several levels. The Charter connects individuals to cutting-edge courses that cultivate empathy and core human values. The Charter connects schools to compassionate learning programs that hundreds of schools and universities are using. Because of the Charter's connections, 22,000 preschoolers in Monterrey, Mexico, are learning about compassion, kindness, and empathy through Think Equal lessons. But the Charter is also helping to spread Think Equal in social, emotional, and ethical learning in other countries. The Charter connects cities to other cities that have pledged to focus on open dialogue, understanding, and inclusion. More than 400 communities in 54 countries want to increase compassion locally, and people at the grassroots level are working on innovative initiatives that address local needs. Let's look at a few examples. Compassionate Pune in India is connecting local farmers growing organic produce to markets that pay them a fair price. Compassionate Pakistan is creating women empowerment zones for skill building. In Belfast, Northern Ireland, volunteers are hosting compassionate cafes to heal political and religious divides. In San Pedro, Mexico, Las Madrinas, the godmothers, are rebuilding lives one roof at a time. In Las Vegas, Nevada, and 13 other states, 160,000 students are learning science, nutrition, and conservation in hands-on school gardens supported by Green Our Planet and community partners. In our role as a global connector, the Charter brings together thousands of partners, supporting organizations and people worldwide so we can learn from each other, share best practices, and co-create solutions for the peaceful and compassionate world that we all desire. The Charter for Compassion is sparking a global movement and becoming a powerful engine for planetary transformation. Join us. Compassion is an urgent call to action. Investing in compassion is investing in a better future for ourselves and our next generations. At this critical time in humanity's evolution, please support the Charter's global movement to co-create a world that works for everyone.
So just a second, let me get the other slide up here. So that video really explains. I won't take much more time because this was just going to be an introduction. We will dive much deeper into what it is. You will get the chance to meet Marilyn, who's been with the charter from the beginning and who works with all compassionate communities the world over. So as you saw, there's over 400 compassionate communities in the world at this point, with more coming. And we have 2,000 partners. And I think it was the second last slide. You saw we have 12 sectors we work within, and I'm the co-lead for the gender partnership sector, which used to be called Women and Girls. I've been part of creating this transition to call it gender partnerships because we believe the era of domination is ending, and we're transitioning into a world of partnerships. And this is inspired by Rian Eisler from the Partnership Studies Center. She is an inspiring woman and is really shifting the narrative through language and creating a social wealth index, caring policies, and that's what we're trying to introduce into the work that I'm doing with the gender partnership sector. Now, as we go on this journey, and I see a lot of interest in this initiative, we will go into this with an open mind and a willingness to learn. We may need to unlearn some things, and we may need to relearn. And that is all okay. That is what compassion is about. Compassion is about being uncomfortable. So I want you to notice in your day-to-day life, what are the topics that you feel comfortable talking about? What are the topics that you feel uncomfortable talking about or even hearing about? Because that feeling you get is important to bring into this work. This is not just work being done up here or intellectually. This is going to involve all of us, our whole body. What's our body sensation at our soul level? Dennis, I know that you talk about that a lot, and in your message to us, this is what's evolutionary, like we're seeing there's a rising, not just, you go to the indigenous teachings, they are also saying it, other religious faith groups, including the one I am a member of. We know there's an awakening happening, but it all comes down to choice. We all have free will. We all have a choice, and this is a call for action. So these questions that you see on the slide right now, I'll leave those and we'll go into the Q&A after. If we all could take some time to consider these, not giving the answers today, consider these and do please join us on the 23rd. Bring these reflections with you. What in your opinion makes a compassionate community? We covered that today of what we all think. How do you personally measure compassion? What do you do at your level to contribute to creating a more compassionate community and world? Where is compassion needed in our community? Where does it already exist? And we've also talked about that today. If our community were one of compassion, what would that look like? Let's look ahead. Let's start envisioning. Let's do some brainstorming. Let's look at images, like examples. And what is your idea of a compassionate city? Well, we're calling it community. It could be just our city. Richmond Hill could take, like CTC it could be Richmond Hill, and that is fine. It could be York Region, that is fine. It could just be our neighborhood, your local neighborhood, and that is fine. It could be your home, that's also a community. That would be fine. So those are the questions that I will leave you with, and we'll go over to our Q&A. Marge, if you also would like to share a bit, and Susan, about this initiative, please do. I certainly am just part of this circle, and we're all learning. So thank you. I hope I stayed within 10 minutes.